Hello everyone, you're welcome back to my channel eLearn Test Skills. My name is Emmanuel and my job is to help you simplify programming so that you can start building your dream project as soon as possible. In today's tutorial, we're going to talk about OOP concept in Python. So an OOP, the full meaning is object-oriented programming. Python is a full-fledged object-oriented programming language, and we're going to talk about it in detail. So without further ado, let's get into the details. All right, so let's get started. Now, to get started with OOP, there are four major concepts to talk about when we are talking about OOP paradigms in programming. So, object-oriented programming, OOP, is a programming paradigm that emphasizes the concept of encapsulation, abstraction, polymorphism, and inheritance. And in object-oriented programming, we talk about classes and objects. So, a class is a blueprint for creating objects. It defines a set of attributes and methods that object of the class will have. In Python, a class is defined using the keyword class. All right, another thing I want you to, because I'm trying to kind of simplify the whole concept just so you have an idea of what we're talking about. So you have to first have a class, then from the class, you have to create object for the class. Now, I know in some of my previous videos, I've talked about variables, creating variables in Python and all of those concepts. In the class, any variable you create is called a property. And this is not just, it's a common knowledge in programming. It's not just about Python. If you are dealing with Java or C# or any programming languages, the technique stays the same. A variable in a class is called property, and a function in a class is called a method. So if you are getting a function written inside a class, it is called a method. And so anytime I mention a method, just know I'm talking about a function. And anytime I mention a property, just know I'm talking about a variable. All right, so let's get started with the concept. So first of all, you need to know that we have to create what we call a class. And the class starts with a keyword called class, and then you have to give it a name. By general convention in Python, if you have a class, not just in Python, in other programming languages too, it is recommended that you capitalize the first letter of your class. So let's call this person. So this class person is going to have a constructor. Now, a constructor is like a way you want to make variables available to other methods within the class. So a constructor is also a method, but it's going to allow your variables, like let's say you want to set global variables that is not local to a particular function. That is why we're going to be using a constructor. So to create a constructor in Python, you say def, which is general for a function. Now, you put double underscore, then you say init, then double underscore again, you put the bracket and self, comma. So in this case, I want to make two variables global. So I can say name, comma, and age. All right, so these two variables are going to be global. So for me to make them really usable, I'm going to say self.name, and I'm going to set equals to name. Now, none of this is anything special. It's just me making this variable global to the rest of the functions or method we're going to be creating. So I'm going to say self.age as well. It's going to be age. So now, let me create another function here. I can say def. Now, you notice that any method you are creating inside a class has to be properly indented this way. You can see the first keyword class is here, and then this function is indented, and it's actually for space bar or one tab on your keyboard. So if you have this indentation, that means this method belongs to this class. All right, so I'm going to say introduce. So usually when you create a method, you don't capitalize the first letter. That's just to show it's a method. So I'm going to say self. So I can also give it another variable. But any variable I set within the introduce is local to introduce. But these variables that I set in the constructor function or constructor method, they are global to all the other subsequent functions that I'm likely to write. All right, so let me say school name. All right, so here now I can say return. So let me put let me use f string here. So in here I'm going to say return hello, my name is, of course, because we have a global name here, I'm going to say self.name, right? Comma, and I am self.age years old. And of course, to use this last one, I can also say I attend self.school name. So I might need to confirm. I don't think I spelled it as school name. So now, so that means when you call this function, it's going to return this string. So now let's try to call it. So what you are going to do now is we have successfully created a function, and the name of the function is person. And then it has the constructor method that makes these variables global. And it has another method here that has this parameter school name. I don't think that's the exact thing I typed there. All right, so it has this school name as a parameter. I don't know why this is happening. All right, school name. Okay, I think I don't need to put self for the school name. That's the reason, yeah. So, because we might get an error because we're using self dot in that case, because it's not coming from the constructor here. So if you think about it now, an object is an instance of a class. So here we've successfully created a class, and that's the end of the class. Now to use or to get this thing printed out, you are going to need to create an object. So to create an object, I can say person1, and this person1 is going to have the person class, and inside the person class we have two parameters, right? We have name and age, and it can be anything. So let's say name should be John, and let's say age is 24 for instance. So I can say print, I think I misspelled the person. Print person1, right? Dot introduce. So now introduce also has a parameter called school name, which I have to specify. So I can say London 2. I just made that up anyway. All right, so we should be able to get this output as hello, my name is John and I am 24 years old and I attend, or my school name is London Castle, whatever. All right, so to print this out, I can just say Python op.py. Okay, so if you look at this now, you can see hello, my name is John. I am 24 years old and I attend London Castle School. I see how simple this is. So to iterate through the whole process, just so you understand what we are doing here, you see that we initialize the class itself by using the keyword class, and then we give it a name person. And the person, the first letter is capitalized, and then you have to create a constructor. So what constructor technically do is to make the variable you put in it to be global to the rest of the function. So if I create another function now, I can use the variables or the properties we created inside the constructor. I can use them. However, if I create another function, I cannot use schoolname because schoolname is local to introduce method. So that is one big thing you really want to remember and keep at heart. All right, so now to talk about the concept of course, yeah, we've talked about class. We have also talked about objects. We've also talked about constructor and then methods and properties and all of that. All right, so in this case, let me try to demonstrate what we mean by encapsulation. So the encapsulation concept is the concept of hiding the implementation detail of an object from the outside world. It is achieved in Python by making the attribute of a class private, overriding the public method to access and modify them. Okay, so to do an example in this case, I'm going to create a new method. So I'm going to create a new class rather. So this class is going to be called bank. I already wrote it out. So bank account in this case. So I'm going to just explain. So I'm creating a constructor here. Init put self, and then I have two variables that I want to create or properties. So I can call account number. I just shorten it just so it will be faster. Then balance in this case. Now, here when I want to initialize them, the way to make a property private in Python, you will say self dot, then you put double underscore, then the name of the property. For instance, account name, then we set it to num, just like this. So meaning that this is a private property. All right, this is a way to make a property private in Python. All right, so I'm going to do for the second one here, and that's going to be for balance. So I'm going to say okay, that's not what I meant to do. All right, so in this case now, I'm going to just put balance here. All right, so now these two properties are private, but they are also accessible to the functions, so or to the methods that we're going to create. So I'm going to say def, and I'm going to give that a deposit. So deposit will also have it will have a parameter amount, and in it I'm going to say self dot balance. All right, so in this case now, what I'm saying is that the balance, if a user deposits money, it should be the balance plus the amount that was added. That's going to be the new deposit, the deposit. All right, so let's create a new function here too. And in this case, I'm going to call that withdraw. So withdraw. So withdraw is going to take self, and it's going to also take an extra parameter amount. And mind you, one of those things I said then was the fact that even though we already declared amount here, amount is not global to the rest of this. So I need to redeclare it, or I can put it in the constructor here. Either way. All right, just for explanation, let's just keep up. All right, so in this case now, I want to define the rules for withdrawal. So I'm going to say if amount that the person withdraws is greater than the balance, I mean the amount the person intend to withdraw is greater than the balance, what should happen? So it's going to print insufficient balance. So it's going to say balance of sufficient balance. I hope the spelling is right. All right, so then I can have an else statement here, and the else statement is going to say self. So that means if the balance is not greater than, if the amount the person wants to withdraw is not greater than the balance, it's going to deduct the new amount from the old balance. And yeah, so the remaining is going to be the current amount you have left in the bank account. So that's the way to go around this. I can also get the balance. So in this case, I'm going to create a new method. So this method is going to say get balance, just like this. It's going to take self alone. It's just to determine how much you have left. So I'm going to say return what self dot balance. So now let me try to explain this just so you understand what we've done so far. So in this case now, and the concept we are trying to explain here is polymorphism. Encapsulation rather. So, and like I said, encapsulation is the concept of hiding the implementation detail of an object. All right. And yeah, so now if you think about it now, this is encapsulation. Encapsulation. So there are 4 concepts to know. Let me just list them. So in programming, in standard OP programming, we have 4 major concepts, which is encapsulation, polymorphism, abstraction, and inheritance. Correct. So, so if you take a look at what we've done so far, I created a constructor here also. Now, the way to hide data in the Python, I think maybe I misspelled this because I don't know why it's looking like it's not. All right, so in this case now, if you think about it, balance is correct. All right, so if you think about it, you see that we actually have, 2 hidden variables, 2 variables that are, hidden in this case. And although these methods within the class, they can have access to them, all right? They can modify them. So what we did basically here is deposit is increasing balance by the new amount that somebody's depositing. That's why it takes the parameter amount. And then withdraw also takes in a parameter amount and is checking if the amount you want to withdraw is not, if it is greater than the current balance, it's going to throw you an error saying insufficient fund, whereas if it is less, it's going to deduct the amount you input from the current balance. So, and then to get balance, we just return the balance variable, and that's that about that. And you can see this one, we never get to use it. So, yeah. And to actually see this in play, you can create an object of, let's say plate 1. So you can call the name of the object anything, and then you need to call the name of the class. And then the name of the class requires account number and balance. So let's say account number is these numbers, and then the balance is this amount, right? So I can print length 1 dot. So as soon as I put a period, it's going to give me access to built-in functions and then the functions that or methods that we have. So let's say I want to deposit money. So if I want to deposit money, deposit will also require an amount. So let's say I want to deposit 23. Okay, so let's see. If I deposit 23, really, nothing's supposed to get printed. Yeah, so you see, it's not printing anything because we're not printing the deposit. So if I really want to get something out here, I can say return. Okay, I can even say in this way, I can say deposit. I can set equals to this. All right. Now that shouldn't be. In fact, this should be new balance. This should be new balance, and I'm going to just return the new balance. So in this case now, if nothing goes wrong, if I print this now, let's see, 456 plus equals to 23, and of course, this is happening because I'm actually putting this in, I'm putting this in a string, so it's not using this. It's actually, just is regarding it as just, a text as a string. Okay, so I think I can just add this together like this, and that should do. All right, so you can see I now have a new amount, and I can even try to decorate it a little bit by putting it this way. You can say no, but so new balance. All right, so now that we have this, I can try to bring this again, and yes, it's giving me new balance is this amount, which is meaningful. All right, so you can see now that I can tell how much we have left after a new amount has been added to the as a deposit. All right, so the next one is, let's say I want to withdraw an amount. So if I want to withdraw an amount, I can say withdraw here. So withdraw 23. So if we withdraw 23, this is not going to print unless I have an amount greater than the actual amount. Let's say I'm trying to withdraw an amount that is greater than what we have there. So let's say this. So we should be able to get the insufficient balance. Yeah, which is coming from the withdraw here, insufficient balance. And if we want to actually be able to withdraw, we can put an amount that is less than that. I'm saying something like, let's say this amount. So you can see it's not printing anything now because we didn't actually ask it to return anything. So if we want it to return something, because the indentation is super important here. So I'm going to say return. So what am I going to be returning? I can say binary return. Okay, so after the amount has been added, I can say return self dot balance, right? So in this case now, if I rerun the code, let me clear my screen first. You can see I now have a new amount, 4133, which is not the amount we had before. It was after adding these new values to the previous one we had before. All right, so, and I hope, that explanation is clear enough for you to understand the encapsulation method. All right, so basically, what encapsulation just does is you have to create private properties within your constructor, and then you make changes to those private property with your new methods, and then you can call them or whatever you choose to do. All right, so that's basically the idea there. In the subsequent class, I'm going to be talking about abstraction. I'm going to be talking about polymorphism and inheritance. So these are just the ones I thought would be very great for you to understand. At least, if you're getting started with OOP in Python, you need to know that you need to create a class, and of course in the class you have to create constructor, you have to create methods, and then you have to create the properties and methods. And then for you to get out the content from your class, you need to create objects. So, and then we have about 4 different concepts in OOP, and this is not limited to Python alone. We have the encapsulation, polymorphism, abstraction, and inheritance. And in this class, I've talked about encapsulation, and please, you can watch the video as many times as you can, just so you get familiar with it. And if you are already familiar with OOP, good for you. You can watch the video just to, get a grasp of our great understanding of how these principles work in programming in general. So if today is the first time you are coming to my channel, please subscribe to my channel, like my video, and share so that more people can benefit from this video. I've also listed new other videos that I think you should watch on my channel. You can watch my videos about functions, how to create functions, lambda function, list comprehension, and so many more other tutorials that I've made previously. So that will be it for today. Thank you for joining me. Thank you for watching my tutorial. See you in the next one. Have a good one.